So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and pretend that we're monitoring this application from WLST. So let's switch back to the domain runtime tree. Okay. And so from the domain runtime tree, we can get runtime statistics for our domain. In this case, we're going to look up stats for the application that we just deployed. So I can run a command called list applications. And this will list all the applications that are deployed to WebLogic. And right now there's only one, the main web app. So do a listing in here again. And there's a special mbean. If you want to get information about an application, there's an mbean type called the app runtime state runtime. It's a bit wordy, but this is an mbean that you can use to get status on an application. So let's go in here. Do a listing. And there's another. This is an instance of that mbean type. So the current directory that we're in is the mbean type, and then within that there's the app runtime state runtime is an instance of the parent mbean. So we have to cd into this directory as well. Okay, and then do a listing in here. And when we do a listing on the app runtime state runtime mbean, we see that there's a handful of attributes, but really there are several functions that we can perform to get information about an application. So there's get current state, get intended state, and the difference between current state and intended state is that the intended state is what the state that the application should be in. So when you deploy an application, you can deploy an application into a standby or an admin state, or you can deploy it into an active state which is the default behavior. And so if an application is supposed to be an active state, but is really in an admin state or a new state because the server hasn't been started, then that get intended state, get current state, you can compare those values to see whether or not, to see where that application should really be. Okay, so let's use the get current state function to get the state of an application. And as you can see here, there's 3 different versions of get current state, and they take different parameters. So the one I need is the simplest one. It's this one right here, where it takes 2 parameters. It takes the app ID and the target. And so I can get and so app ID is really just the name of the application, and that's going to be main web app. And target is where I deployed it. So that's going to be MS1. Oops, I missed a semicolon. This is why you should do this in an editor, or not be so fat finger like I am. Oh, and of course I spelled main web app wrong. It's case sensitive, so make sure you put in the correct letters. And you see here that the state is active. Okay. Now, what you can do, now just to compare this, let's go ahead and kill our managed server. So I'm going to kill this process and run that command again. So we've gone from active to new. And the difference between active and new is when an application is in a new state, it means one of 2 things. It means that an application has been deployed, but the target that it's supposed to go to is not available yet. Or in this case, we've already deployed the application, but it's not available because MS1 is not running. And there's various other states too, like prepared, which is similar to new. Okay, so now that we've deployed it, let's go ahead and undeploy it. And undeploying it is really simple. So let's do help on undeploy. And really, it takes one parameter, just the name of the application. So we can do an undeploy main web app, hit enter. Okay, so we've undeployed the application. Now you're probably wondering, well, MS1's not running. How is the application undeployed? Well, when the next time MS1 starts up, it'll connect to the admin server to get the instructions to undeploy that application. So now that we're done with creating resources and deploying applications, I want to show you a way that you can record the tasks that you're performing in the admin console. If you're performing complex functions in the admin console, the record tool is great for capturing what those commands are. Because sometimes it's really hard to understand what mbeans are in use when you're performing certain operations in the admin console. And so if you want to script those functions, then you can use WebLogic's recorder to record your actions within the admin console, and then it translates that to WLST script.